you know, show, show the importance of fatherhood, but also get that momentum on going of the Real Dads Award Show, the Real Dads Week coming June 5th. So look out for that information in the WhatsApp coming soon. Just wait for the wording to be good. If it's good, then we'll share with everybody, and hopefully starting Monday, everybody's do the challenge.
Great. Thanks, Ishmael. I want to talk to you about the wording, so we'll connect. But it's great. All right, we're ready to get started. We're very fortunate to have our own Puma that's going to impart knowledge to us about real estate and generational wealth. And I'm excited, and I hope you guys are ready to receive knowledge and some good information. Puma is all yours.
Great. Good to see you guys, man. I tell you what, it feels different when you're the speaker. I don't know why I'm nervous to see you guys every Thursday, man, but it's crazy. Let me share my screen first. It's my first test. Gotta learn how to share my screen. I think okay. Can you guys see my screen? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we see your screen.
It's loading.
Okay. Let me know when you can see it. Uncle Mike, you can see it?
Yeah, but I just see a black screen.
No.
Puma has started sharing his screen.
Nah, it should show you Real Dads Network home ownership. No?
Not yet.
No.
Okay.
No.
Nobody can see it but me.
If you want, you can email it to me and I can.
Oh, perfect. Let me do that. All right. Uncle Mike always come through in the clutch.
Well, we try.
I'm gonna email it to you
That's
right
Uncle
now.
Mike.
Yes.
That's because you were so nervous.
Yeah, I did it. I did it too. I did it from my laptop to my iPad and it worked, but let's see. I'm emailing to you now. Hold on.
All right.
I'm giving you all this extra stuff you don't need.
Now you're probably really shaking.
Word, right?
Messing up from the jump, man.
Oh, here you go. All right, Uncle Mike's email address is. Tell me your email address, Uncle Mike.
Uncle Mike 7@hotmail.com.
There you go. It popped up. All right, I can stop sharing my screen. I'll just talk while he's doing that. When you get it, Uncle Mike, you can share it. Like I was saying, a few weeks back, Uncle Mike, we had a meeting with all the brothers and for suggestions on what would people want to talk about. And somebody said home ownership. And Uncle Mike said, oh, Puma can do that. And that's why we're here today. Thanks, Uncle Mike.
Yes, sure.
Right? As you guys, did you get the email?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not a PowerPoint, right?
No, you got to swipe. You got to slide up scale.
Okay. All
right. As you guys know, the Real Dads Club is a great resource. We have a wealth of knowledge within our group. Multiple speakers with different expertise. My expertise is in real estate, and I recently joined Philip Brown to learn about insurance, annuities, and retirement funds. But tonight is about real estate and creating wealth. Okay, I have 8 slides here. I will go through them and feel free to stop me anytime to ask questions. I mean, it's informal. Anything comes to you, ask questions, but it's only 8 slides. It'd be a quick presentation. We're going to discuss discrimination, the roadmap to home ownership, benefits of home ownership. I'm going to give you 2 examples of money needed to buy houses based on the cost of a house. So, next slide, Uncle Mike. So, the U.S. Census Bureau home ownership stats for August 2020. It says 76% of whites own homes, 51% of Hispanics own homes, and 47% of Blacks own homes. I'm gonna stop right here and ask the question. I mean, there's no one answer for this. If guys can chime in and tell me why you think are some of the reasons that minorities own less than whites. Anybody can chime in.
Discrimination.
What was that?
Like you said earlier, when you were addressing the topics you're going to discuss, discrimination definitely, especially historically. Maybe it's getting better now, but
yeah, I agree. That's definitely one for sure. Anybody else?
Redliner.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, information.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely, I would say poverty and debt.
Somebody said poverty and debt.
Yeah.
Generational wealth.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Education.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I said, it's so many things. It's so many things put together. But I'm go next slide, Uncle Mike. I'm gonna start with discrimination because that's where it started. We was definitely considered 3/5 of a man, so he wasn't able to own anything for many centuries ago. But I'm gonna take it back to more current to the 60s. And when I state these dates, I always think about people that I knew was alive during those times, like my family members, mothers, father, uncles, aunt, cousins that was alive in the 50s and 60s, and they lived through this stuff. And so Martin Luther King and the other civil rights leaders was fighting for us to get civil rights, and it included home ownership was part of the rights. You know, basically the right, we didn't have a right to own a home until the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And with that act was passed, it made it illegal for a blockbusting, steering, and redlining. I'm gonna go through definitions of all three of these. Some guys might know what it is. I'm gonna break it down so you definitely know what it is. So it made it illegal for blockbustering. That's when you get homeowners, like the real estate agents and the brokers, get homeowners to sell their homes because of the fear of another race moving into their neighborhood. Like the blacks are coming. You got to sell your house because the blacks are coming, or the minorities are coming. Sell your house, and they'll make them sell their house and then sell it for a higher price. That was illegal. That was outlawed in '64. And then steering. Steering is when you influence buyers to buy in a certain neighborhood to keep the neighborhood segregated. Like the real estate agents would still order blacks over here and still order whites over here and still, steering. That was considered illegal in '64. Then you had redlining. I think the redlining is the worst one because that dealt with the money. That's when mortgage companies would not give loans to minorities to buy homes or for home improvements. So that was a real one. And redlining was in their office, they would have like a chart in the wall, and they put a red line amount of communities where they can't give loans. That sounds crazy, right? That was real. So the problem was, even though it was outlawed, there was nobody enforcing those laws. So 24 years later, the Fair Housing Amendment Act of 1988 gave HUD the authority to really enforce these rules. And that's when things started to change. Let's think back, guys, to 1988. How old were you? And let's think about that. In '88, we still weren't able to buy houses like a normal person, like a regular citizen. And I got a couple of stories myself. I grew up in East New York, Brooklyn. I remember in the '80s, a black couple moved to a white neighborhood called Canarsie, and they set his house on fire. Not 1945, not 1960s, 1980s. I was in high school when this happened. So this stuff is real. So anybody want to comment on this slide? Any questions? Oh, yeah, cool.
Real quick, just a plug. There's a TV show right now. I don't know if anyone's seen it on here on Amazon called Them, and it's a really good show. It talks about a lot of this stuff. So
okay, Them,
if you have a chance to, yeah, it's really good.
Okay.
Okay,
Also,
I was going to comment about that too. I seen like the kind of promo for it, and then even like the behind the scenes concept that the director was talking about, and this sounds exactly like that. So definitely looking forward to checking it out over the weekend.
Okay. So also with the Fair Housing Amendment Act of 1988, they started having a lot of lawsuits to like suing these big companies that wouldn't rent to minorities or wouldn't sell to minorities. It's a lot of lawsuits, federal lawsuits started helping for the change. Next slide, Uncle Mike. Thank you. We're gonna talk about what's required to buy a house. I'll also say this too. I can see, based on that last slide, right? I can see where Black people or minorities are behind because if you don't see your parents and your ancestors buy homes, your uncles and aunt buy homes, you don't think you can do it because nobody in your family is doing it. So it really a big impact on this generation for buying homes. Now, I'm not saying you should buy a home or you shouldn't buy a home. It's your free country. You should have the freedom to do what you want to do. So I'm not here to sell anybody a home. I'm here to talk about the process to buy a home, but it's up to you if you want to buy one or not. It's take the information and do what you see fit. So now I'm gonna go to the road to home ownership.
Puma, I have a question. Will you help us to understand the benefits of buying a home?
Yes, sir. I definitely will. I think that's slide number 8.
Okay.
The last slide. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I forgot to mention. I'm actually I own I think I did mention that I own a franchise in New York and North Carolina. I'm licensed in New York and North Carolina to sell real estate. I also have my insurance license in New York and in Georgia, thanks to Mr. Philip Brown. Okay, so this next slide talks about the road to home ownership for people who want to get more details on what it takes to buy a home. It's a long journey, but like I said in this previous slide, because a lot of our ancestors, our mothers and fathers and uncles and cousins didn't never buy a home, they were never able to teach us how to buy a home. Okay, at the percentage rate at 47% versus white people 76%. It's a problem there. So I was going to take this time here to go through the step-by-step A to Z on what it takes to buy a home if you want to buy a home, or tell someone else how to buy a home. What do you need to buy a home? You need a combination of 3 things. You need credit, income, and cash. Now, if you got cash, it's the only thing you do by yourself. If you got cash, you can buy a house for cash. That's all you need. But when you want to get a mortgage, you need credit, income, and cash. And we need credit for everything. Credit, we need credit to buy a phone. We need credit to apply for some jobs. So we already know credit is everything, so including buying a home. Now, the credit score as low as 580 can get you a home. But the higher your score, the better interest rate you get. When I say better, the lower the rate, the lower you have to pay for your home. So the higher your score, the more they trust you. That makes sense, right? Then you have FHA loan and conventional loans. FHA loans are government-backed loan, government-insured loan. FHA stands for Federal Housing Administration. They insure the loans because they want to promote people buying homes. With FHA loan, you can put down as little as 3.5% down as a down payment. I'm gonna go through that in the last slide too. In a conventional loan, they're stricter. They're not backed by the government, so you gotta have a higher credit score to get a conventional loan and put more money down. Okay, income. When it comes to applying for a mortgage, the income is important because they gotta show that you have the ability to pay the mortgage back. They look for at least 24 months of income. How do they prove you have income? It's that good old tax return. You got to show real money on the tax return. So how money you made, if you ain't filed with the government, it don't count when it comes to a mortgage. So you got to show 2 years of federal tax returns for the bank to use it as income to go towards a mortgage approval. Also, you got something called DTI. DTI is debt to income ratio. You divide your debts by your gross income and you get up with a ratio. And they want you to be at a 36% ratio so you can afford to get a mortgage, okay? And out of that debt, they only want 28% of your debt to go towards your housing bill, your mortgage bill. All right. Then the last thing you need is cash, good old cash, right? They want to see cash in the bank because you're gonna need cash for your closing costs. You're gonna need cash they want to have some reserves in the bank, 3 or 4 months in the bank to show that you can pay the mortgage after closing. And guys, any questions on that slide?
I have a question. If you have multiple credit cards, does that affect your debt to ratio income?
Yes, because all your debt gets added up into the ratio. So all your debt, your credit cards, your car loans, your installment loans, whatever payments you got going out your check every month, it goes in your ratio. So they add up your gross income, not your net, your gross income. And then you take your debts and divide it by your gross and get your DTI. So they want to make sure you can afford to make a payment every month. They don't want you struggling to pay them. So sometimes when you go apply for a mortgage, I'm not a mortgage person, but the mortgage guy kind of guides you through. And through this process, when you start to buy a house and get a mortgage, you don't want to buy anything until you close. So because what happens, it messes your ratio up. If you read at 36% and you go buy you go charge a Mother's Day gift for $5,000 for your wife, it's going to affect your home buying ability because it affects your ratio. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a question. So with the in reference to the credit card, so say if you own a few credit cards, right, and they're at zero balance or low balances, do they use that still against you because you have access to the money? Like, does that still go like you have that much credit out? Or if you have zero balances, it's okay?
Well, it's okay. It depends though. It depends on your ratio. It depends on your cash available. All these three things is a factor. So, of course, you got access to that debt. It could be a factor to some banks. Again, I'm not a mortgage person, but you have access to that much money, they might ask you to close it, but then the close it, bring your credit score down. So each bank is different, but having enough cash available compensates for that credit card because you still got cash in the bank available to show I still can afford this mortgage, even if I charge these credit cards. That's why all three is important. It's credit, income, and cash. That's my point in this slide. It's not just, I got a 780 score, I'm going to buy a house. It's not just that, you know, you gotta have credit, income, and cash available. That's a good question.
I wanted to piggyback off of that question, just with some experience myself. That
Yes.
some to your point, Puma, like sometimes if you have it available, even if you show, listen, I forgot I had this, like this credit, I don't even use. Like you could see my zero balance. They may like you said, say that it needs to be closed because what if you decide you know, to just use it, then you, especially like you said, if you're close to that percentage that they're looking at, and you know, like I did a refi recently, and I was talking to the to the woman who was conducting a transaction, and she said the same thing. It was like I think to your point in terms of how delicate the balance is. You know, she said, don't buy anything, you know, don't go out there and do too much until this check clears. Like you'll get it in 2 days, whatever the transaction that we were doing, it was taking like 2 days. And then I laughed. I was like, what am I going to do? Go buy whatever. And she's like, no, I had a family that was doing one, and then they went out and bought a washer and dryer. I told them don't get anything. And the bank put because I think maybe this was what the bank has like a 48-hour window to like recheck things before everything clears. And so she was like, it was heartbreaking, but I had to tell them it didn't go through.
That's why I'm here right now to tell you these steps right here are important. Yep. You make any transaction you do during the process can affect your whole mortgage approval, affect your whole DTI, and it's changing the whole game. So sometimes they say you gotta go pay something off, or they say you're not approved anymore.
Crazy.
Yeah, thanks for that input. Okay, anybody else? So the next slide, I'm gonna go through the process, the A to Z to buying a home. It's a journey you go on. Okay, so if anybody, right? Somebody got a comment?
Yeah, so I just wanted to add as far as that, one of the factors is credit utilization. So it's not that simple with the credit, just simply because you have to show credit worthiness, and that's the purpose of having the card. So if you have a healthy credit worthiness level, like someone's prepared to extend you $200,000 worth of credit. If you have $200,000 worth of credit or a black card, that factors into your credit worthiness. So if you use those, they're looking at the payment history also. So if you can afford to pay off those charges prior to that circumstance, then it's probably not going to be taken into consideration. I would also suggest that you use a bank that you bank with regularly because they know your history and how you function, because their input factors into whether or not you get that loan approved.
That's a great point. It's like you said, a good point he made just now. Go to a bank you have a relationship with, they know your habits. Your credit report is telling them your habits. Do you pay your bills on time? Do you know? So your bank account, your bank that you go to, they know your habits already. That's a good place to start as far as getting a mortgage at your own personal bank. You don't have to go there, but it's a good thing to go because they know who you are. They don't question you as much because they know your habits. They got a bigger history of you. Thanks for that input. All right, so let's go on this journey. I'm gonna give you A to Z to buying a home. And like I said, interrupt anytime with any questions. So the first step would be to get a pre-qualification. You might say, A pre-qualification, that's a pre-approval. So they're two different things. A pre-qualification, when you call the bank, right, and you tell the bank, they ask you how much money you make, they ask you how much debt you got, and they ask you different things with no verification. They give you a pre-qualification, it's worth nothing. It's not worth anything, really, especially in this market where the market is crazy right now. What you really need is a pre-approval. A pre-approval is where the bank takes your information, they verify everything. They get your bank statements, they get your tax returns, they verify your job, you know, they do a credit check. And a pre-approval is just as good as cash when you're going to look to buy a house. So what you want is that pre-approval. And with COVID started last year. Before COVID, you can go look at a house without a pre-approval. Since COVID, they don't want people out amongst each other. You cannot even go see a house without a pre-approval. That's how much they consider pre-approval as cash. Okay. So once you get that pre-approval in your hand, you're good to go. You start searching for the home you want. Because the pre-approval tells you how much you qualify for based on everything you gave them, the ratio and everything. You qualify for $500,000. You know, so I would suggest my clients always look for houses below that $500,000. Because you're gonna have to negotiate up sometime in this market. So you start searching for houses, you figure out what you want, your wife want, how many bedrooms, whatever you want. And you start searching. Go through the search, and then once you find what you want, you put an offer in. You put an offer in for the house. And what you want to do with your real estate broker is have them do what's a CMA, comparative analysis, to make sure what the house is what the seller's asking for is the house is worth that amount. So your broker would take that house, say 123 Main Street, and compare the neighborhood of the local recent sales of the last 90 days to see if the house is sold for X amount of dollars for the offer. So it's sold for $425. That's what you're gonna offer, $425, because that's what the market is in this neighborhood. Okay. Then you go to the seller, tell them that's what I'm offering. The seller go back and y'all counter back and forth, and y'all finally agree on the price. So now the offer is accepted by the seller. Now, based on what state you're in, it varies by state. So I work in New York and North Carolina. So I'm gonna do it in New York right now. Uncle Mike, the next slide. After the offer is accepted, the buyer.
I have a quick question, if you don't mind. On the last step that you were showing, I just curious.
Go back.
What type of things are buyers doing these days to get their offer accepted? Which ones are working the best?
So for one, the more cash you got, the better. The more cash you got, and they're overbidding for the house. If the house goes for $499, they're offering $510 out the gate. You know. Also, they got a company called Ribbon. It's not in every state. Ribbon offers you ability to show cash. They give you cash to buy houses, and you pay them back like a 1% of the purchase price, just so you can win the offer. Because it's so hard out there for buyers right now that you can't get houses. I put offers in 35,000 over, and my client still didn't win. Somebody went 35,000, 36,000 over. So that's a good question. So what they're doing is they're going over axing, and they also, my next slide, you're gonna see they waiving the ability to do an inspection. They waiving the ability to do appraisal contingency. They say, I don't care if it appraises or not, I'm gonna pay the extra money. So that's how buyers are winning. It's a risk you're taking though as a buyer when you don't do an inspection. When you don't do it, you don't care what the appraiser come back as. It's a risk. Did I answer your question?
Because the reason why I was asking, because someone was telling me about how some buyers are, I guess there's some type of contingency where you can put your offer in and then say, whatever offer someone else is, I want you to auto counter it to become the highest bidder. I didn't know if that was a good strategy or not.
Well, you can do that. You can do that, but what happens is the seller can play you though. The seller can really play you if you do that. He's like, hey, it's automatic. It went up again. So now,
right.
You know what I mean? People doing crazy stuff like that because people are stressed out trying to buy houses right now. They're doing stuff like that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, cool. Next slide. Thanks, Marcus. Uncle Mike. So we're gonna talk about the inspection. Why is the inspection important? Because you see a pretty house, it looks good, but you don't know if it's good or not. So you gotta do an inspection. You gotta hire a professional between $400 and $800, depends on where you are, depends on the size of the house, between $400 and $800 for an inspection. But guess what? You'd rather spend $800 than buy a $500,000 house that has a bad roof or a bad foundation or bad plumbing, bad electrical. So what happened with the inspector, they're like a general expert on everything, you know. So they're not an expert on anything. They got general knowledge on every area. So the main things are the roof, the foundation, the plumbing, the electrical. You know, they check those out for you. When an inspector will do, he'll come and check those things out. He find a problem, he'll recommend you hire a licensed electrician, a licensed plumber before you move forward. Of course, you do what you want to do. Like some people, Marcus, are waiving the inspection just to win the offer. This is the house looks good, you know? So after the inspection is done, report comes back, based on what's on the report, you have repairs that's done. You might need something done, some plumbing repaired, some electric repair, whatever needs repaired, come back to the table with the seller and make a deal. Say, listen, lower the price or fix the problem, or give me a credit at closing. That's also done. So in New York, after that step is done, then you go into contract. That's when you get the lawyer involved. In North Carolina, the brokers write the contracts. In New York, the lawyers write the contract. Every state is different. So, and I'm going to New York. So after those repairs are done, prices adjusted, now we go to the lawyers and get a real contract in place where everybody's going to be locked into a deal. So once you sign the contract, the seller sends the contract to the buyer gets a lawyer to go over the contract. Say, for example, in the contract, the seller promised to do some repairs. There'll be a repair rider in the contract. I'm signing this contract contingent upon the seller fixing the plumbing issue, fixing the roof, fixing whatever. That goes in the contract. Okay? That's good. The buyer and seller is happy now. The buyer signed, the seller signed. Now, since it's not a cash deal, the banks get involved. Now the bank got to approve the house. That's where the appraisal come in at. The bank comes in and makes sure that this buyer is offering the right price for this house. So the bank comes through with appraisal and make sure the house is worth that $425. I call it the bank inspection. They do the same thing I did. They do the comps in the area and make sure the house sold for that amount in the area. They walk through the house, make sure there's no damage in the house. Boom. Now the appraisal is done. The bank come back, said $425 is good. Let's move forward. The lawyers do a title search. The title company, what they do is they search the title to make sure the seller actually does own the house. You know how you buy a car for somebody, you gotta make sure they own the car. When you buy from an owner, not a dealer. So same thing with a house. You gotta make sure the owner that's selling it owns the house. What happens that happens a lot when the house is passed down to siblings and you don't know who really owns the house. So the title search lets you know who can really sell the house. That's very important. You also gotta get title insurance in case anything goes wrong, you're covered. The bank is satisfied with the title. They give you a commitment letter. Now you're really ready. That commitment letter is like cash for real. That's like approval. Remember we had the approval, pre-approval. Now you got the commitment. The commitment letter was pre-approval was the pre-approval for a commitment letter. Now you got a commitment letter. So you're good to go. Now you're ready to really sell your house. Any questions, any slides, guys? Any input?
Yeah, Benji has a question. Hey,
Go ahead,
Ben.
Yeah, Puma, I got a question for you, brother.
Go ahead.
So have you ever had a situation where the bank comes back with a different amount than what the house appraised for? So again, that 425, right?
Right.
It gets appraised for 425. The bank goes in and says it's only worth 375, 400. So the bank doesn't approve, you know, so you get pre-approved for say X amount, but then the bank doesn't want to pay the 425. Is that how that works? If a bank doesn't see the same value?
Right. This how that works. This is what Marcus was talking about. Okay. So what happens is the buyer and seller agreed on 425. The bank comes and says it's worth 375. So the bank will still give you a loan 375, but you got to pay that other $50,000 out your pocket. You got to show that you got that cash to still be approved. A lot of buyers are saying they're waiving the appraisal contingency and bringing out that cash because they're so stressed to buy houses. But it's not normal to do that. It's not normal to waive the appraisal contingency because you want to make sure the bank covers the loan. If not, you got to put that cash out your pocket to make it work.
Got it. So, yeah, no, that makes sense. So I get what you're saying. So in essence, you're paying more than what the house is worth because you want the house.
Exactly. It's a bad deal, basically. It's really a bad deal. Unless you just got money, unless your family live in the neighborhood, certain reason you want to be in that neighborhood, for some reason you got to be there, you go overboard and you come in the door underwater. The house not worth what you're paying for it. But it can catch up, but at this point, it's not. And that's what's going on today. It's a seller's market, and everybody is overbidding for these houses. So a lot of folks with cash are buying these houses in that situation because the prices are still going up no matter what. So they feel like in 90 days, my house it catch up to the market because that's how much it's growing in this market right now. But the normal procedure is this though. If the house doesn't appraise, normally the seller comes down to the appraised price. Because the market we're in right now, they got, when you say no, Benji, the next buyer coming in, I got it, I buy it. So the seller not stressed because they got multiple buyers that want their house. Make sense? You got that, Benji?
Question, because
okay,
can you hear me now?
I got you. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, sorry, I'm asking a bunch of questions because I'm kind of going through the process right now. But
that's what I'm here for, man. Go ahead.
So, with the issue I'm having right now is just like you're saying, a lot of buyers are coming in. You're getting some bidding wars. So the issue I'm having is trying to decide what to list the house for, because of course you don't want to list it for too much, but then again you don't want to undersell yourself. So I'm just wondering, like, what steps do you take to get your clients in the right listing price?
Okay. What state are you in?
I'm in Virginia.
Okay. So with my sellers, right? With my sellers, what I do is this. Same thing. You do the CMAs. You see what houses are selling for in the community last 30 days because they're selling so fast. The last 30 days. And based on, so now what happens? You get a comp price. Say your neighborhood is 375, Marcus, right? That's your neighborhood. No matter what house it is, if you're in this neighborhood, it's 375. Then you come in your house and see the condition of your house. It goes up or down based on your condition of your house. You got new bathroom, new kitchen, floors, roof, electrical, plumbing. It goes up or down based on that. But with this market, because buyers so stressed, your house could be plain. They're still overbid for your house. So get the comp price for your house and go 10,000 over in this market. So say your house is comped at 375, put 385. And guess what? Somebody gonna buy it because that's the market you're in. Sellers are winning right now. If you want to sell, it's the best time to sell right now.
As my agent, because the agent I have right now, he's putting my price lower than the comps, saying that it shows that there's value in bidding for my house. And I'm fighting back and forth with him, like, look, man, like the comps here are X, and you're telling me to go Y, which is lower than X. Why are you doing that in the seller's market? He just says that the market will dictate what the bidders are going to bid anyway, so it doesn't matter as much. That's what I'm afraid of.
Well, I understand his strategy. It's different. There's no perfect scenario. That's how I think. He want to create a bidding war, but the problem I have is that the war's already out there. The war already started, so you don't got to create a bidding war because it's already started.
Right. Agreed. Yeah. Okay.
Right. But it's still up to you. You get the final say on that price though as the seller. All right. Anything else, guys?
I actually have a question, Puma.
Ahead,
That's me, Leo.
Good, brother.
Yeah, good. So it might, so for you or anyone who's in this situation, for me, I currently own a condominium, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happened is currently I'm in a divorce right now.
Mm-hmm.
So the condo has to be sold, basically.
This is the lawyer side. This is
It
the
has to
judge
be
side.
split. Has to be split, right? So when they sell it, so the court isn't necessarily going to try to look for the highest bidder.
Right.
They're going to just try to go ahead and get it sold. So what happens in that situation? So right now it's in forbearance, right? So if they sell it and whatever is left over in that forbearance, let's say that I still owe the bank, that's basically going to have to be me putting out that money to pay it back to the bank.
I would say not just you, y'all together though, right? I mean,
together, but it's going to be split. So I make higher income than my ex-spouse, so they split it 60-40. So I'm going to have to shell out 60% of that. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So what I'm saying is, it's a seller's market, but if you're in a situation where you're in some type of divorce or anything, and assets have to be split, it's kind of bad for you because the courts aren't really gonna go ahead and sell it to your advantage. They're just trying to get rid of it.
Right. So you are at a disadvantage, but in this market, I'm telling you, buyers are still going all in for these houses. So you're not necessarily. So do you have a price that you think is worth? Is it
I
listed
would
at a
say
price?
I got it for 325.
Mhm.
It's a condominium in East New York by Gateway Mall.
Hold on,
I don't
man.
know if
That's
you
my
guys are
hood.
familiar with that
My
over
hood.
there
That's my
by
hood. I'm from the East.
Meadowwood. Yeah.
I'm from the East. Yes.
Yeah. So I don't know what it'll sell for now. I'm thinking that area is growing,
Big time.
but yeah, so I don't know but again, the courts aren't looking to see who's gonna for the highest bidder. They're just trying to
But it's
sell it
still a
off.
process. Listen, I had a divorce case last year. They still allowed them to hire an agent though. They hired an agent. They hired me, and I was able to put my price and sold it for them. So they allow you to hire an agent. They're not selling it. You're still selling it yourself, right?
I was trying to put an agent in there. However, they already went ahead and got an agent.
Who
Got a
the
company.
court?
Yeah,
Okay.
a company that they usually go with to go ahead and appraise the home and then move on from there and sell it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm here to help, of course, but I don't think the judge can say you must use this agent to sell your house. I mean, they might have their own appraisal, but I can't see that being illegal for the judge to say these are the realtors you can have to use to sell your house. So, is the house on the market right now?
Right now, no, I think is that they're appraising it right now.
Cool. We talk behind the scenes. I don't
We'll
want to
talk. Yeah, we'll talk.
Yeah. All right. Like, cool. Anybody else got it?
I had a quick question to Marcus's question. So, being that the market is so good right now, and it's a seller's market, like how much? So, if his houses are being comped at 350, or what is a good? How much? You said 10,000, but what can he get maximum value? How much do you go over what the comp prices are? What your house is valued for in this market to make a profit?
Well, I would say, like I said, there's no perfect scenario. Each broker is different. I go 10,000 over minimum in this market for sure. 10,000 over. And I talk to the seller. If they want to go higher, they go higher. But I let the seller make the decision. I just tell them what I feel based on my experience. I show them the data, the numbers, what's sold and everything. And I educate them. And I say, listen, minimum 10,000 because everybody's going overboard. So, and every situation is different too. But I go 10,000 over. And like you said, the market will definitely tell you. Because right now, today is Thursday. House go live today. By Monday, it's sold.
It's true.
For real. By Monday, it's sold. So you go 10,000 over, you're going to have 10 people trying to buy your house by Monday. 10 offers going to be in place, maybe more. So my number is 10, but I talk to a seller that want more money, 15, 20, it's up to the seller. Then the market will tell you what the true number is.
Thank you.
All right.
Puma, let me share a story that might just bring this to light.
Okay.
My son just sold his house a few weeks ago. He put it on the market for the CMA, pretty much the average price. By the next day after we went on the market, the next day, someone offered him 32,000 more than what he put on the market. The next day.
Exactly.
His realtor told him, I would not purchase your house for that price. And he did the closing and all. And he made more than what he put it on the market for, 32,000. That's how much they wanted that house. And then there were other bidders that actually, if that didn't come through, that was still higher than what he actually put on, Yeah, so it is really.
Yes, it's crazy.
Incredible market that's going on now. Yeah.
See, now you see why I say 10,000 minimum over. Like I definitely go 10,000 minimum over. Right?
Yeah.
Hey, can I add something as well?
Yes, sir.
Mortgage rates heavily impact the amount that you pay for a mortgage.
Yeah.
And sometimes the price of the home can throw you off if mortgage rates go lower or higher. And like I have a friend who, got set on a number. I'm in Brooklyn as well. He got set on a number that, he's like, well, I'm only paying X amount for a house. And then, it's just like, oh, these people are crazy. They're asking for too much. But from when we started discussing it to the point that we had this talk about his mortgage amount, the rates had changed so dramatically that he could technically buy, $150,000 more house.
Yes.
For the same monthly mortgage. But despite my best effort, he just didn't get it. He was saying, I'm not giving these people that much money. I'm like, but if you could pay this amount a month, like that's all you need to worry about, because it's fixed and your 30-year mortgage is going to be the same. And I want you to think about that monthly cost versus how much it costs. Because it's, the numbers are just so random sometimes, because it's obviously the most expensive purchase that most people will ever make in their lives. So, the numbers could be, there's just a bunch of zeros, it seems like, but,
Right.
Anyway, just that point.
That's a good point. You tried to help him, because when it comes down to the interest rate go low and make your money payments lower, but his mindset was, I'm not paying more than X amount for a house no matter what. That's what he is. Right. For me, I let people do what they want to do. I just try to educate. I'm happy. If you're happy, I'm happier. That's my strategy. You know what I mean?
Right.
All right, Uncle Mike, next slide on this journey. Okay, so now back to that whole thing where don't do anything. Don't buy a washer and dryer. Don't buy this for your house. Don't buy furniture. Don't buy that, because at the end, they still got to check your debt to income ratio. They still got to check your credit again. And they're going to verify that you still have a job. Because in New York, it takes 2-3 months to close a house. North Carolina takes 6 weeks, and sometimes 4 weeks, But so they got to check to make sure you still are employed. So they call your job to verify that you all still work there, okay? They do a final credit check to make sure you didn't open up any new loans, anything. You go to Lowe's and you try to get 10% off on the washer and dryer and open a credit card. That affects everything. So when you go through this process, you can just say, I'm not doing anything until I get my keys. So after that final job check, after that final credit check, you get what's called a nice song to hear, clear to close. In the real estate industry, everybody want to hear that. The lawyers, the realtors, the buyers, the sellers. Clear to close means everything worked out. The money's, the $400,000 is waiting for you to come get at the closing table. So great. So clear to close. So you get 3 days to go over your documents. By law, you can't close. When you get a clear to close, you gotta wait 3 days and actually close. Because they got you get the documents when you clear to close, and you gotta go through your documents. They can break down everything you're paying and why you're paying, who getting what, who getting this, what the mortgage people are getting. And you can say, okay, I looked it over, I'm ready to close that 3rd day. So, but before you close, you have to do what's called a final walkthrough, the morning of your closing, or you got a morning closing the night before your closing, because you want to go look at that house, make sure it didn't burn down. Make sure, you know what I mean? Because once you sign on at that closing, whatever's there is yours. You know what I mean? So you got to do that final walkthrough to make sure that house is still there, everything's still in order, everything the seller promised you, that chandelier is still there, the washer and dryer is still there, the whatever he promised you gonna leave in that house, it's gonna have to be there. Because whatever you get after closing is yours. And boom, then you close, and the journey is complete. Say, welcome home. Any question on that, guys?
Yeah, I got a question. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, I got a question. You were saying it's a seller's market. What about a buyer's market?
Well, it goes through cycles. It's when the buyers are winning. What happens now, what I mean by seller's market is that it's more buyers on the market than houses for sale, which means what? The seller got a house and got 10 people to choose from because he got 10 people that want his house. And the opposite of buyer's market is when there's multiple houses out there and you got a handful of buyers trying to buy a house. So the seller got to say, there's a buyer, let's take his deal because the next buyer ain't coming until another month or two. That's the buyer's market. When it's inventory is so many houses for sale that the buyers can pick any house. So now the sellers want you to pick their house, so they got to negotiate with you and be in your benefit. So that's a cycle that I like to stop. It goes up and down. Right now we're in the seller's market for a while because what happens is because the interest rate is so low, there's a lot of buyers out there. The interest rate is so low. This is a great time. It's going up now though. But it's so low, so low.
So Puma, if I'm going to purchase a house, being that the interest rate is so low, is something I should consider?
Well, you don't buy a house because the rates are low. I would say you buy a house because you want a house. So it's not a reason to say I'm gonna buy a house not because they're low.
No, but if I was planning on buying a house.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely because they're low. Like I think Manu said, with that low interest rate, you can qualify for more house, the same low no monthly payment. So yeah, this is a good time to buy a house, but the market, the rates are going up now. Like I'm going through a process of modification right now. My rate was 3.8, it's going down to 2.3, unheard of right now. So you definitely want to, if you want to buy, you can buy now. But only problem with that is it's hard to find houses because you're gonna overpay for the house because of the seller's market. But you can buy a house now because you want to buy a house and the interest rate is good, but you're gonna overpay for it because everybody wants the house. Well, a good strategy right now would be a new construction house, I guess.
Right. I got a question. Hi. How you doing, Palmer?
Yeah, who this?
Yeah, hi,
yes.
Steve, Mike's brother.
Hey, Steve, how you doing, sir?
Good, brother. Good. Listen, we just 2 weeks ago we sold our house, and today I get a letter from our lawyer that their lawyer sent him a letter and said that when we looked at the house, there was washer and dryer that was matching. By the time we sold the house, the washing machine died on us. So we went on and got a replacement, but we got a used one, but it was working. We used it for a few months until the closing. So she was insisting that we give them $1,700 to replace the washer and replace the washer, and so they could get rid of the washer was there. We told our lawyer, no, we're not. Everything is done already. We're not giving them $1,700. Why should we give them a new washing machine when that washing machine that was there was there for maybe like 10 years already?
Mm-hmm.
So this is after everything was sold and done with.
Right. So that's why I said
So
a minute ago, that final walkthrough, I mentioned that final walkthrough. What was there should have been there. So the final walkthrough, she should have discussed that before she signed those documents. Are you frozen, Stephen?
Right. She said
Steve,
she
you
knows,
frozen.
but I'm sorry. I'm frozen.
So you was frozen. So the
frozen.
lawyer, that's when the lawyers get together and say, listen, my client said he didn't give no money. There's a washer and dryer there. What's up? What happened?
Yeah, so I didn't know if I'm going to get any backlash. Yeah, we told the lawyer, no, we're not giving any more money. No, we weren't giving him any. So we were just waiting to hear back from the lawyer now to see what happens.
I'd be surprised if you paid $1,700 because she signed that document already. I would be like, $200-300, but not $1,700 for a new one. And plus, a washer and dryer was there. It's probably in the contract. You said washer and dryer would be there. That's what the contract is important too. You didn't say a new washer and dryer. You said the washer and dryer.
No.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, you should be good to go. Your lawyer take care of you for that for sure.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else for the next?
Hey, real quick question. What's your experience with trying to simultaneously? My wife and I, we have a small place now, but we're thinking of purchasing something bigger and selling where we are now. Well, what's your experience with trying to do things simultaneously? Sell, look for something new as well as trying to sell your present location.
Okay,
we have some friends who are in the same situation, and they've gotten jammed up. Either the deal for their house fell through, and then they had already started to steps towards the new purchase, and things like that. Or the sale went through with their place, and the place that we were going to purchase stuff fell through. So, what's been your experience with trying to do things simultaneously? Is one be done?
Right, the short answer is this. The contract. The contract had to say, I'm selling my house contingent upon me finding another house. So the buyer that comes to you, knowing they gotta wait until you find another house. That's the easy way you covered by law with a contract. They sign that contract, they gotta abide by that contract. I'm selling you my house contingent upon me finding my new house. You might put a date on it, 6 months to a year, whatever, but that's the contract. But that's what you gotta deal with now. A lot of sellers can't move because they can't find a house. They got to bid. You know, the market is crazy. You know what I mean? So, but to cover yourself, put it in the contract.
Okay.
You can't be kicked out your house. Your contract got to say, you can buy my house contingent upon me finding a new home. If I don't find a new home by this date, contract is void. But it messes you up though, as far as selling though, but you covering your family. So the contract was you, and this is the contract is very important. The language of the contract is very important with this here, because the market is crazy. So you got to say, contingent upon me finding a new home.
Thank you.
Good.
It also disadvantage you as a purchaser because you don't look as attractive to the seller if there's a stipulation to your offer. You know,
Yeah.
like how you said, you know, you might go to these agencies that they have now where you get all cash, and you could just say, hey, listen, I got all cash. I'm buying the house. You know, like it might be accepted, like a $30,000 offer might be accepted with all cash versus I'd like to, you know, offer you 30,000 more, but I have to sell my house and I'll sell it by this day. But if I don't, then we don't have a deal. So just something else to keep into consideration.
Yeah, it's based on his situation. Like what's most important
Yeah.
to him, him knowing that he got to find someone to live for his family or selling that house. So if you don't got to sell the house, you can put that up and say, listen, I'm willing to sell as soon as I find something. Right. It's not like Ron said, it's not cute, but it's the facts. That's why the contract got to be clear. All right. That's the next slide, Uncle Mike. Thank you, man. Next slide is the benefits of home ownership. For one, everybody talks about the tax advantage of a home ownership. You know, it's tax write-offs. Like the interest on your mortgage is written off on your taxes. I'm not a tax person, of course. Talk to your tax people about that. That's my understanding. The tax advantage is that the interest is written. I know my tax person get my interest statement. I don't know what they do with it, but they put it in my taxes. Okay.
Can I jump in there for you real quick?
Who's this? Who's this? Yes.
This is Benji. This is Benji.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The tax law has changed, so that you no longer get a tax break or tax credit like it used to be for home ownership. So it's not like it used to be. You're not getting back $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 because you own a home and that's what you're paying taxes. They changed the tax law and they took that tax benefit away, unfortunately.
Yeah,
something I learned the hard way as a homeowner in the last 2 years.
Yeah, they made some adjustment to it. There's still some benefits though. They made some adjustments to that though, because I know the previous president put a cap on the taxes. I know for sure. Also with the taxes, when you do that, it's still some advantages. Like I said, talk to your tax person to get the clarity on exactly what the advantages are in regards to taxes. Okay, that makes sense. Also, with the tax advantages, taxes is used to pay for the community, public services, police, fire, emergency services. Also, the biggest one is schools. You notice when you got single family homes paying taxes, they got better schools. So when you're in neighborhoods that have tenement buildings with a lot of renters or tall buildings, the schools aren't as good because they're not paying for the schools. So those advantages of being in a home ownership too, in communities, but better school when you got children. Okay. Then you got the opportunity to get equity. Now, most of the time, your house will grow. I say most, like the stock market, it's not always up, not always down. Same thing with home ownership. It's not always up, it's not always down, but most of the time it's up. Your house usually grow in value. So, and your house will come like a bank. You can borrow money against your equity. What is equity? Equity is the amount of money, the difference between the money that you owe and the value of your home. For example, if you owe $300,000 and your house is worth $500,000, you have $200,000 of equity. That makes sense? And that means you can borrow against that equity. You can borrow up to 80%. Well, the banks vary, but say 80% of that $200,000 you can borrow. If your credit is good, it's still the same thing. Credit got to be good. You got to have a good situation. But you can borrow that money to buy another home, to pay for children's school, to do whatever with it, to invest it in something else, invest it in a business. That's a good advantage of home ownership. Anybody want to chime in?
The markets are obviously very different in different places, but that is a tremendous upside to, like, especially being in New York, and everybody knows about in the last 10 or so years in terms of, neighborhoods changing and such. Very, very impactful to the whole investment.
Yes, definitely.
Puma,
yeah.
An advice my dad used to give us was that when we bought a house, to make sure that it wasn't the most expensive house in the neighborhood, he would encourage us to buy neighborhood also, not just the house.
Yeah, smart dad. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
and it really helps because that's where you really get your equity, because if you're buying into a neighborhood where there's houses that are of high quality, it makes a difference, especially if you want to sell.
Definitely.
I'm sorry, I have a question. This is Kenyatta. I got on late. Sorry, I had another Zoom. Uncle Mike, what was your advice? Your dad said buy the neighborhood, like the area that you're looking.
Yeah, not just buy the house, buy neighborhood. For example, you might see a beautiful house and you're in love with the house, and then the neighborhood is falling apart, or it's kind of like average. That's going to not give you equity in your house that you would get if you bought neighborhood. Also.
Oh, got you. Okay, because that's what I was also told. Also, where you're looking to purchase, or it could even go for being a renter. But I know we talk about home ownership. You should go to that neighborhood during the night as well, and on the weekends, and see what's going on at different hours of the day and night. You got riffraff or whatever around or whatever.
Yeah. The next benefit is you can control gentrification to a certain extent. Because when you own the house, you can't be forced to sell. You can choose to sell. So people can't move in if you don't sell to them. So you can control gentrification that way for home ownership. Number 4, for the benefit, is it gives you choices. You might want to sell the house to make some money, or you can rent it out, make some money. So it gives you choices. Ownership gives you choices. And the last one I would say is it's the start of generational wealth. When you do your net worth, it's your liability versus your assets. Assets my liability, and your home is your biggest asset most of the time when you calculate net worth. And you can imagine over the long haul, your house can be passed on to your children. And imagine your child not having to worry about housing. Your house is paid off when they got it. When they get the house, it's paid off, and they start their life with no housing bill. That's passing on. Also, I have a friend of mine that happened to him. His father passed away, gave him a house paid off. I mean, I'm jealous of him, really. What I mean? He got a house paid off, a big house, 4 bedrooms. He's chilling, at least once a month, somebody gives me a call too. Hey, Dudley, my mother died. She had a house in Bed-Stuy. It's paid off. Can you see what it's worth? You know what Bed-Stuy's doing right now? The last guy called me, 1.5 million. Paid, house totally paid off. He got 1.5 million. That's passing on wealth. If he sells the house or rent out, what we're going to do, that's how you can pass it off. Also, I always talk about houses are used. I missed something too with the equity of the house. Houses are used. I worked in jail for 20 years. And a lot of times when guys get arrested, they use their house for bail. But most of our brothers don't have a house. So they end up being in jail for 2-3 years with $5,000 bail. If they had a house, if family had a house, they can use that house as collateral to get bailed out. Again, not having a house, you stay in jail waiting to go on trial versus being home. Put their house up as collateral, you can get out of jail. That's another benefit I left out. I forgot about that. I think that's it. Left on. Yeah. Next slide, Uncle Mike. Any questions on this? Anybody else? Anything? Any comments? Next slide, the last slide.
Okay.
What was that?
Uma, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So what are the pros and cons when you talk about renting as opposed to buying? Like if I'm like saying, well, I'm straddling the fence. Should I buy or should I continue to rent? I think I should buy, but can you give me some points that would persuade me that maybe I do not want to continue to rent?
Okay. Well, I want to persuade you either way. I'll just give you some information.
Okay.
It depends on what you're looking for. If you want mobility, you don't want to buy. Because when you buy something and you want to be mobile, you got to sell it before you move. Understand? And it's not always a seller's market. Sometimes it's hard to sell your house, honestly. And it costs money to sell your house. Realtors charge money to sell your house. A lot of stuff got to get done to sell your house. So if you're thinking you're going to be somewhere, I would say, this is my own personal opinion, you're going to be somewhere 5 years or more, you might want to buy. If 5 years or less, I'll say rent. If you're on the fence, if you just want to buy, you can buy for 1 or 2 years. You know what I mean? Because people buy houses in North Carolina, they stay 2 years and sell, make $10,000, rent, buy again, make $10,000. But New York don't sell that fast. So it's based on where you are. You want to be mobile, you want to rent so you can leave next year. 5 years or more, buy a house, get some equity, and sell it. You need at least 5 years, I think, to make it make sense. That's just my opinion, though. It's only an opinion.
Great.
I'm with the Jefferson.
Puma, I was also going to say that very, very first slide that you had where you said the things that you need, one of those last things you said that is you need cash aside from the credit and the, what was it? The credit and the
income. 2 years income.
But you need the cash. So I was going to say, if you want to buy, you have to make sure that that cash is there, because as a homeowner, anything breaks down, it's on you.
Yes. Right.
That boiler breaks down, you know how much boilers cost, that's on you.
Yes.
The roof,
Yes.
that's on you. So as a renter, you don't have those burdens. Anything breaks down, the landlord or management company can fix that and you can be on your way. So you have to weigh those pros and cons.
That's a good point. It's a good point too. Yep. Good point.
I'll add something in terms of motivation from my perspective. Of course, hindsight is 2020, but if it gives you a glimpse, if you look back at your last 5 to 10 years and you've been renting in the same area, and you look at how much you spent in rent for that past amount of time, you say, maybe that could have bought me a condo, for instance, or what have you. And then you compare what prices were 5, 10 years ago with your own calculation, you might discover that you would have more equity than you even paid in rent in many instances. So again, hindsight can give you a little bit of a looking glass into the future, but often, I know a lot of folks in the city in Brooklyn, depending on the property, you might have like a 6-figure addition to your equity annually.
Yes, depending where you are.
So there's a lot of, I feel like there's a lot of advantages to own.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, but I always say it depends on the person, though. I mean, you got people that fight for ownership and fight for rental. So I'm in the middle. Do what you want to do. You're happy, I'm happier. That's my thing. All right. Wrapping up here. This is how it works. I'm gonna give you some scenarios of buying homes for $300,000 and $500,000. I'm using the minimum numbers too. Okay. So $300,000 house. Some people think they might need $100,000 to buy that house. In reality, you need $25,000 to get you in that house. I'm gonna show you an example. If you get an FHA loan, which get the lowest possible down payment, 3.5% is $10,000 down. 4% closing cost is $12,000. Inspection can be between $500 and $800. I put 5 there. Appraisal between $400 and $800. I put 5 there. Attorney fee in New York could be $1,500 to $3,000. But that total is $25,000 to get into a home with FHA loan at $300K. Okay. Second example, same numbers with a $500,000 house, you need $40,000. So now you can see, if you want to get a house $300,000, it takes $25,000. Get a house $500,000 takes $40,000. And of course, the more money you got, the better it is for you, the easier the transaction would be. This is a bare minimum numbers. Also, I have a scenario where you can buy a multi-family home too. A 2, 3, 4 family home. 4 is the max. You can buy that home at 3.5% down and live in one apartment and rent the other 3 apartments. The mortgage company would take the 3 leases as income towards your affordability to buy the house. And I'm sure I got questions on this one. Any questions, guys? Any input?
Yes, you can hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, Jess?
What does FHA stand for? Like, what does it mean?
Federal Housing Administration. It's a government-backed situation where they back, it's a government-backed loan. Federal Housing Administration.
I have a question.
Yes.
This is Kenyatta. In regards to PMI, which I know is like the mortgage insurance, is that an additional cost that's not in your numbers here, or
Yes,
that will be different?
this is minimal. I was saying with the FHA loans, they charge you PMI until you get up to 20% of the loan, 20% of value. But that's I'm not a mortgage expert, but yes, that's a good point. You pay insurance for paying that low amount down because they saying you don't got enough skin in the game. You walking from this house with no problem because you got 25,000 in. You get upset and stop paying the mortgage and leave. Decide you're gonna move to Charlotte and leave the house in New York. So, well, that's not New York for sure, but 300,000. But that's my point though. The more skin you got in the game, the less you got to pay in insurance.
I have a follow-up to that. I don't know if you touched it earlier. Maybe I could look at the recording later at a later date. But when it comes to putting 20% down on the minimum, do you feel either way about that, or do you prefer 20% so you don't have to pay that insurance?
Yeah, that's another personal decision. But yes, I suggest put down as much as you can, because the closer you get to 20%, the closer you can get to stop paying that payment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the closer you are to it, so even throughout the life of the loan, when you get 20%, it drops off. But that's a mortgage question though. But that's what I understand. Once you put down 10% more, it drops off. You know, so the closer you're to 20%, the less you gotta pay for the PMI. That's the FHA loan, because the government is backing that loan. You quote unquote you're a risky buyer. You know what I mean? You put down 3.5%. They putting up 96.5% of the loan.
Yeah.
You putting up 10.5. They putting up 289.5.
Yeah.
So it's really their house. You know.
Do all banks participate in FHA loans?
Yes, it's a government program. Yeah.
So Puma, I have a question. So what would be the monthly payment approximately for that purchase of that $300,000 house?
And that's a good question. It involves, the taxes may vary. But I can look it up real fast. But it's probably like $1,800.
Oh.
With the taxes included. Though, because what it is like this: every $600 is $100,000 in mortgage. So 6 is 6. 300, so 1,800 with everything included. That's a round formula to be used. That includes the taxes and everything. $1,800 a month for a $300,000 house.
So I could be paying twice as much that for my rent.
Yes. So sometimes that's when you say, I want to buy. Okay. It's a personal decision
every time I pay that mortgage, that's equity. I'm putting equity. That's like forced savings.
Right. And what happens out of 1,800, of course, some of it goes to taxes, some of it go to interest, and some of it go to principal. So not the total don't go to principal, but a portion go to principal. You got principal, taxes, and interest.
Well, when I'm paying rent, nothing is going towards principal.
Right, exactly.
I just
sound like a candidate. Well, you step in my office, you know, I got a New York office. You come down anytime you want, man.
Well, with that formula, $600 for every $100,000.
Right.
That's not including taxes, though. You said, right?
No, it does. It's a general formula. Yeah. But it's not dead on, of course. That's what we use. We paying to having for a guy like, I'm saying, how much is your rent, man? $1,800. You can afford a $20,000 house. How much is your rent, man? You know, $2,400. You can buy a $400 house. It's that strategy we have. That formula they taught us. You know, not exact, but that's kind of where it is.
Puma, are there some banks that will ask you to put down more than the minimum in order to?
It's based on your scenario. Yes, based on your income and your credit worthiness. They can ask you, I qualify you, but you got to put down 10%. Because that means you're borrowing less. Because what happens is you qualify for a $250 mortgage, right? But you want a $20,000 house. So they saying you need to put up more money.
Yeah.
So like that. So based on every situation is different. So based on your income, your credit, that kind of thing.
Right. Okay.
So, Poom, right? Say that I want to pay no money down, and I have a VA bank loan. Is no money down, no money?
Yeah, what happens is this. I'm a veteran too. So what happens is I bought my house with no money down. See that first step, no down payment? That's what they mean. The rest of it you gotta pay. You gotta do your closing costs. But see, some mortgage companies have deals where they pay for closing costs. They have special promotions where they do half the closing costs. Or you can also, well, not this market. Sometimes sellers pay closing costs when it's a buyer's market. But right now it's not a buyer's market. So the no money down, the VA loan is the down payment. There's another guaranteed loan from the government-backed loan. So yes, but you still got to have a closing cost money, your inspection, appraisal, and attorney fees is still on you. But that 10,000 or 17,000, it don't is waived for it's waived, and the government backs that for you. Good question. I have that in my notes too.
So Puma, I have some of my colleagues that they use, I think, a company like FEMA, I think it's called, and they really supported them in getting their homes. I forgot
FEMA?
the organization. There's an organization for first-time home buyers.
DACA?
DACA, yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, there's a lot of nonprofits.
What do you feel about them?
Well, this is what I feel. A lot of nonprofits out there trying to help people buy homes. I'm all for them. You know, they educating people. I'd be like we doing now, Road Dads. We're educating people on the process, and then people got more information to say, okay, like somebody here tonight probably gonna say, oh man, I learned something tonight. I might buy a home in the next couple of months or next year. I understand it better. That's what DACA does. And DACA trains people. They make them get qualified. They make them like go to courses and learn about debt and how to get out of debt and how to save money and what they need. And they also have a program where they no money down too. So they help them out. I think it's a good program.
Yeah, both of my buddies were able to get their house using DACA.
Yeah, I spoke at a DACA conference before as a realtor.
It's the process seems to be long, and they really dive into your spending patterns, and they really educate you, like you said. So it takes a bit longer. Yeah,
they help you. They take you from that first slide of 1964 when your parents didn't know about buying houses. They take you from somebody like that don't know nothing, and take you every step of the way. I think it's good.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'll add to that too, if it's okay. I got my first house in Brooklyn 18 years ago from a first-time home buyer program. And I remember at the time, it was a lottery. They had, a few houses.
Nehemiah's.
Yeah, something like that. And, they had a couple houses and, people, put the application in. I remember talking to somebody who's a realtor now. She was in finance. Anyway, the point was, she was like, why are you wasting your time with that? Because, they're predetermined, like those things, they'll take your application, but, they know who they're giving the houses to or whatever. And obviously I got it. And 18 years later, the value is 5 times what it was, the purchase price. And it was just like, I would have never been able to see something like that, a multifamily house that was already finished up and stuff like that. So again, obviously I keep speaking about it. I'm a really big advocate for home ownership and, just getting our piece of, as they say, the 40 acres and the mule.
That's good, Ronald. And that's a perfect example of generational wealth starting. That's what I mean, starting generational wealth. Because that house you bought for X amount is 5 times what it was worth 18 years ago. Not 80 years ago, 18 years ago. We still here, 18 years. Your son could have been born that year. He's 18 years old now. That house can go to him,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying.
Or like you said, that equity that you now have to leverage, you could say, I'll pay the college fund.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'll just do the mortgage. Like,
right.
It's just a more sophisticated, I believe, way of negotiating finances and wealth, to our advantage for the next generation. So we gotta know it.
And we gotta understand. Go ahead.
Sorry, quick too.
I have a Real quick question. Sorry, Kenyatta. You can go ahead.
All right, I know you don't really deal with the mortgage financial part, but I had a question about, someone was telling me about an agricultural loan through the bank. That's is better interest rate. And are they still doing Officer Next Door, Teacher Next Door program for those HUD homes? Does that still exist? I tried getting one 20 years ago, 15 years ago, but I would never win the lottery because it was a lottery system.
I'm not sure. I haven't heard of it lately about those situations. I haven't heard about it. I know what you're talking about, 'cause I was around back then too, when Ronald bought his those situations. But yeah, I haven't heard it lately though.
What about the agricultural loan?
Agriculture, yeah, that's in North Carolina. I hear that a lot. It's kind of like a VA. It's a government loan, no money down too. It's in mostly in North Carolina. I haven't heard about it in New York. I don't have much experience with that.
Okay.
Marcus?
Crystal ball or anything, but can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Go ahead, brother.
Ball, but I know you're in the market as a real estate agent. I was just wondering, how long do you think it's going to be a seller's market for?
Yeah, it's kind of like asking somebody about the stock market, man. You just don't know. You know it's going to come back down. You don't really know, but it's going to come back down to normal. It has to. We just don't know when. They've been saying it for last year. The government is saving it though. The government with the forbearance is saving the market right now. The market is dead because the government. Just imagine how many millions of folks not paying their mortgage right now. That's what's saving it right now. So something's gonna happen when the government pulls back and say, pay your mortgage and pay what you owe us.
It's like a perfect storm right now, right? It's not only that, it's like the parts for houses are in short supply, and the cost of those parts are going up. It's just the interest rates are low. It just seems like a perfect storm for the prices to keep rising. But what my problem is, and why I'm asking that is, like I said, I'm trying to sell my house, but I haven't been in the house for more than 2 years. And according to the tax laws, you have to be in your house for 2 years before you sell it without having to pay taxes. So I'm trying to wait out that 2-year market. It's right around the corner. It's in July, but I'm just wondering if I should list my house now and potentially have to pay taxes, or wait until I hit the 2-year mark and avoid taxes. But then I'll be in a situation where maybe the housing market softens and I lose out on some potential profit. So
or you be real spicy and say, I'm selling my house contingent upon I can't close until July. It's contracts. So if they agree to it, they agree to it. Yeah, that's good.
Possible, and I have any contingencies on my contract. But you raise a good point. I could put that in the contract.
Yeah, people say I can't move to July because my kids are in school.
So I just want to tell everyone that this has been an amazing conversation with Puma, a wealth of knowledge, as you can see. And even though we're winding down our conversation, I'm gonna speak for Puma. He is so available and so willing to help you. I have my personal story of Puma just saving my life when it came to my daughter buying her first house. I've told this before. My daughter relocated to Arizona, and so she was living out, and she loves it out there. So she called me up one night, and I've been encouraging her to buy a house. I said, you're paying rent, buy a house. So she called me up one night, and she said, I went out today and I found the house that I want to buy. I said, wait. You went out today? The first house you want to buy? Yeah, I love it. It's beautiful. I said, wait, hold on. I called Puma. I said, Puma, I need help. Can you call my daughter? And Puma was just so gracious. He called me back about almost 15 minutes later. Uncle Mike, it's good. She's not buying the house. He called me back. He's so funny. He told me, did you date the first guy that you met? No. So just to fast forward, she didn't buy that house. She eventually bought a house. And I said, what's your experience? She said, I am so glad I listened to the advice that I received, because this is really the house that I love. And it's better deal. I love it. But it's just so great to have a network like this where you have people that really care about you to the point that they're there for you when you need them. So it's amazing. It's great. That's what the Real Dad Network is all about. Yeah, so that's awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. That was a good story, man. Your daughter's awesome, man. So, guys, listen, I'm excited that I was here to share with you guys. I guess Uncle Mike said I'm available. Any other questions? And Derek, thanks for having this platform and giving me the opportunity to share my little knowledge that I have. And I'm open for any more questions before we close out, guys. And thanks for all the input, guys. That really helped me. Cause we all know a little bit, you know what I mean? So we all did this together, really.
This is great, Puma. We thank you, man.
Great job, P.
Great job.
Well done. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much for everything. We out.
So I just want to let everyone know.
Wait.
Yeah, thanks.
Good, Sam.
Oh, I thought there was that. No, I just want to tell Puma thank you because I'm on that journey with him, and I got a couple of young brothers that joined in today. Huh?
Good stuff, man. You're welcome, brother.
I got a couple of young brothers that joined the Dad.
Are they? We have some new people on today.
Yeah, you got a couple on there today.
Welcome, brother. Introduce yourself. Craig?
Nasheem, he's on. It was good to have him on. Nasheem, say hi.
Hey.
Welcome, Nasheem.
Thanks.
Yeah, I'm so glad that he's here. Because I was just telling him how Puma was such a telling me about this journey, because I'm on the journey now and I'm working on it. So I did invite people because I know Puma is really a positive person. So I wanted other people to hear him share. So thank you.
Thank you,
Sam.
Sam.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
I want to thank Collins for joining us and Darnell.
Yeah, thanks. I got on a little late, but from what I heard, it was just very informative. Yeah, I appreciate this community, and thank you, Mike, for inviting me. Yeah, and I hope to definitely want to come back. So yeah.
Please come back, brother, every Thursday.
Good to have you guys.
Welcome.
Hey, I want to add, my cousin is on the line, Craig. And funny enough, we grew up in Bed-Stuy and East New York. And, one of the first conversations that we had about credit or even thinking about credit was in college, because it's just like, it just was never taught. And in fact, I think what we learned was the opposite, like stay away from credit cards and stuff like that. But, Craig's out of North Carolina, and he could tell you better than I can who he is, but really great guy.
No, I appreciate it. Appreciate it, cousin. Thanks for the invitation, fellas. I really enjoyed this. And whom ironically, my cousin Ron was giving me these presentations back in the day without slides when he bought his first house 18 years ago, just sharing that knowledge. And so just seeing brothers from every angle talk about, the mortgages and interest rates and tax dynamics, clearly iron sharpens iron. So it's great to be part of this community.
Good to have you, brother. Good to have you.
Well, thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing everyone next Thursday, and be safe, be well. And Derek, you have anything you want to add? Just a great job.
P-Dub, man. Thanks, man. Great job, man. You gave a lot of important information. Thanks for sharing. And Puma started off a little nervous in the beginning, but he got warmed up.
He was never really nervous. That was just putting on.
That was his rope-a-dope. He was doing the alley on us. He did a little rope-a-dope.
And then he acted like he couldn't share his screen because he wanted to put me to work. But that's okay.
Hey, great job, man. Appreciate you, man.
Guys.
Appreciate you, man.
Everyone have a good night.
Love you, brothers, man.
All right.
Good night.
Well,
See you next week.